Have you ever had a problem you just couldn't seem to solve? You sought help from all available resources, but to no avail. Perhaps for some of you, this issue went on for years, causing you to exhaust all your resources. Well, if this sounds familiar, continue watching to hear about a woman who experienced an issue which lasted her 12 years. If we're meeting for the first time, I'm Pastor Tabor, pastor of Divine Church located in Metro Atlanta, where we believe it's all about His will, His way, His word. Let us now receive this short but inspiring message. Mark the 5th chapter, verses 25 through 34. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I could just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once Jesus realized the power had gone out of him, and he turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" "You see all these people crowding against you," his disciples answered, "and yet you can ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, and trembling with fear told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." There comes a point in each of our lives when we find ourselves having to deal with things we thought we never would. Many times we're faced with problems, having no solutions. We began searching for answers in many different people, places, and even sometimes, I must admit, things, often only to discover we've wasted precious time, pouring out tears, and there just seems to be no end to our dilemma. So it was with our main character in today's lifted text. With all this in mind, I want to witness to you for the next few moments from this thought. We all have issues. Here in today's lifted text, we find a woman who has been suffering from 12 long years of a medical condition. Her condition causes a continuous slow bleeding. She has sought out medical advice from all available resources. However, her quest for a cure has yielded nothing. In fact, her condition grew worse. Can you even imagine? One appointment after another, one consultation after another, yet and still your condition continually gets worse. And after all that, still no cure? We all have issues. Using my spiritual imagination, I see her many nights shedding countless tears as she prayed for her healing. I see her trying home remedy after remedy, but still no cure. I wonder, how many of you watching can somewhat relate to this woman's dilemma? Although you're not experiencing exactly the issue she has, perhaps you've been dealing with your own personal issues, some which have lingered for many years. For example, drug abuse might be someone's issue. Alcoholism might be another's issue. Lies and lust just might be someone else's issue. After all, we all have issues. Fornication can be an issue. Adultery can be an issue. Depression can be an issue. Loneliness can be an issue. And yes, abuse can even be an issue. Lest I forget, racism and COVID-19 globally are current issues. We all have issues. At the beginning of our text in verse 25 and 26, this woman's 12-year issue, her incurable disease, has no doubt drained her physical energy, but for sure her bank account. She's broke, has exhausted all available resources, seemingly to make her a hopeless case. But keep hope alive now, because in spite of all this, in verse 27, she's determined and found exercising her faith and encouraging herself by saying, "If I could just touch his clothes, I will be healed. In her desperation, she exemplifies an incredible amount of faith, so much so that she is not even concerned with the crowd. And if we're keeping it real, we know how the crowd can be. They can be rude, loud, pushy, judgmental, and of course, discouraging. May I suggest that the crowd today could be strangers, family members, co-workers, neighbors, and yes, even one's spouse. In closing, after suffering 12 long years, depleting all her resources, this woman was determined. She believed that if she could but only touch the hem of Jesus' garment, she would be made whole. I want to say to each of you watching, just as this woman was, be determined. Never allow anyone or anything to stop you, block you, or keep you from making your way to Jesus and getting the cure you know you need. Because after all, remember now, we all have issues.